But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty, well, he stays with the book, and he's looking for the law of liberty, how to get free. Whoever looks into the perfect law of liberty and continueth therein, what if he doesn't continue? Now, you see, Matthew and James and Hebrews are filled with that kind of talk. Don't some of you people ever wonder why so many Christians think you can lose your salvation if there isn't some truth in it? You know what these conceited asses do? And that'd be the right word to call them. They think that 500, 600, 700 million people who thought you could lose your salvation all of them were lying on the thing, and they all should have known the salvation. If they didn't know it, they weren't saved. In plain words, you'd say it's obvious that works don't have anything with salvation because of the Pauline epistles, and so you're taking for granted everybody knew about that. They didn't. And the reason why they didn't is because there are at least 100 verses of the New Testament that teach somebody can lose salvation. Now, I'm a Baptist, and you know Baptist theology. We believe that once a man gets born again, he can't be born again and again and again and again and again. We believe when a man is saved, he's saved, and if he doesn't live right, God will chasten him, and if he lives too bad, God will kill him. That's Romans. That's Paul saying, if you live after the flesh, you shall die. Talking to a Christian. John says there's a sin a fellow can commit that you shouldn't pray for, let God take him home. You know what your book says, about even under Paul? For this cause many among you are weak, and some sickly, and some sleep. They're dead. Why? Because if we would judge ourselves, we should not be judged. But when we are judged, we're not the Lord's sweet little children, and sweet little babies just trying to, just loving them to death, you know, that kind of thing. He says, sick and asleep, some die. Why? Because if we would judge ourselves, we should not be judged. But when we are judged as God's sweet, wonderful little children, just lovey-dovey, can't wait to just love you, what he does, he'll take you home by a shortcut. Many sleep, because if we would judge ourselves, we should not be judged. But when we are judged, that's the born-again Christian in Christ, when we are judged, we are chastened of the Lord that we should be not condemned with the world. Let us therefore not murmur like they did in the Old Testament, and were destroyed. Got to watch it, brother, sister. They're always trying to get votes by making you think that you're just wonderful because God tell them that you are wonderful, and God just thinks you're the best thing that ever walked on the face of this earth, and you're not. There's one thing for sure, every man at his best state is altogether vanity. That covers saved and lost. Now he says what you should do. Verse 25. Whoso looketh in the perfect law of liberty and continues therein, say like where you can lose it in Matthew 25, plenty of it there. In Hebrews chapter 6, plenty of it there. In Hebrews chapter 10, plenty of it there. In Matthew chapter 6, plenty of it there. A lot of people lose salvation. That's why so many people believe that they can lose it, because they find the verses in the Bible and they're there, but they don't apply to a born-again believer in this dispensation. The trouble with your modern Bible teacher is he's just not diligent, he's not studious, and he's not intelligent. He thinks the whole Bible is written for somebody in the church age. Let me tell you something. According to a watch and a clock and a time and a calendar, the church age takes up less than 1/3 of the Bible. And everybody goes by it, do they? I never heard of such conceit in all my life. You think God didn't have in mind the bunch back in Noah's day, where he found righteousness in one man and walked with him? Do you think that book isn't written for people under the law, who are told about the law? The law came by Moses and that kind of thing. Do you think what the law Moses gave was the same thing as what Paul gives you in the book of Romans? Well, they're opposite. They're opposite. Got to watch it. All right, now not forget, the man continues in this law, he not being a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work. Doer. this man shall be blessed in his deed. Now, it didn't say he'd just continue to be saved, or if he didn't continue, he'd be lost. But it says he'll be blessed in his work if he does stuff. But a doer of the work. And on he goes.